Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. I don't really like the color. You know, aren't I terrible? I should do all this color correction and stuff before I go online. But hold on here. It looks in my, like, okay, I'm seeing it on my screen. And then I'm looking at it down here in my little correction. And it looks like the color is good. You know what you guys, and hello, Mike, Stephen, and I don't know if that's pronounced Stephen or Stefan. You need to let me know. And Julian, do I have a yellowish cast? Because, like, I have these two, like, Mike has seen my setup here, so he knows I've got, like, this control panel, and it looks nice and very white balanced on this end, and in my screen, it looks very yellow. So let me know if I've got a yellow cast. I'm going to start playing with some of these here a little bit. One second. Let me see if this... Does that look better? Oh, that's getting way too bright. Okay. Tint. A bit yellow. Okay, so let me... Is that... See, that's very yellow. Oh, that's green. Okay, that seems better, right? Saturation. Let's go real saturated for a second. Whoop! No, that's too saturated. There's, I think, better. Okay, I think that looks a little better. You guys let me know. Okay, let's look at gamma. Gamma. Okay, I think that looks much better now. Not so much of a yellow tint. I had a weird yellow tint on there before. Thank you, Ned. Thank you, Mike. Boy, do we have some things to talk about. Boy, oh boy. But before we get there, I want to show you all a gift I got in almost said New Hampshire, in Vermont. So, they're so wonderful in Vermont. So, the Lady Reddick came up to me and said, I'd like to give you a book. And I'm like, I will always accept a gift of a book. So she gave me this book entitled Reasons to Trust the Government. And I was like, okay, I thought this was going to be some kind of, I don't know, like, there's a guy here in Colorado, and I forgot the book he wrote. It was something like the Swamp Denizen's Guide to DC or something. You know, kind of like a very satirical book. And I thanked her, and she goes, flip through it. And we were getting ready to pack. And she goes, no, flip through it now. I'm like, okay, so we're going to flip through Reasons to Trust the Government. Here's the reasons. Here's the reasons to trust the government. And like there's some words on some of the pages, like it starts off with, you know, like education, and then it's numbered. The pages are numbered and everything. So class, we can turn to let's just say we're gonna pick a random page here. Page 93 of Reasons to Trust the Government. So this is a great book. I'm assuming they selling this on Amazon. Didn't get paid to promote this. Nothing like that. This was just a gift that was given to me. But what a great gift for the libertarian in your life. I don't know if they're selling this on Amazon. It's got an ISBN number and everything. I'm assuming they are. This is hilarious. Pick it up. That's all I can say. Pick it up. It's great. I love it. And of course, for the young person in your life, this isn't blank. It's actually some life lessons with great illustrations, a children's book of The Tale of Two Brothers. So one, this is actually a paid advertisement, though I would advertise it anyway, okay? Because I really do like this book. I wouldn't take a paid ad for something I didn't like, just so that you know. This was not a paid ad. This one here also is not a paid ad. This was a book that was given to me. I was asked to review it, an honest review. I've been giving an honest review. I love it. I think I'll put a link to this also down. I haven't done it yet, but down in my low bar, so that if you want to get it, at least you can do it through an affiliate link and help me out as well. But in either event, I got the biggest kick out of that. So both Vermont and New York were fantastic. I had such a great time and such a warm reception at both. Now, something happened between traveling to New York, from Vermont to New York. I discovered, and I didn't know this, okay, because I haven't been around the country much. I mean, I have now, but I mean, how do I put this? Before I got involved in the LP, I was terrified to fly, so I pretty much stayed put. And I'd never really been much in the extreme Northeast. And I didn't realize how rural it was out there once you get into upstate New York. I expect Michael Myers to, like, with the with like the hockey mask, to be jumping out from the woods at us. Like, it was hours and hours and hours of just thick woods, okay? But something happened in the drive between Vermont and New York. I learned in a way I wasn't supposed to learn, as you all know, what happened with the JC, okay? Because certain JC members, too worried about their own political asses, and blabbed to multiple people about what the decision was. And kind Mary Ruark apologized to me for the unprofessionalism of her colleagues. And I appreciated that. And she told me she did listen to my show and respected that I wasn't going to reveal my sources, which I am not. But she did also appreciate that I said I was going to reserve my fire about the JC's decision till I actually read their opinions. And she encouraged me to do that because for some reason she seems to think that their opinions are going to calm me down. I seriously doubt that. But I will... You should never mouth off about something when a written opinion's about to come out. That might make you look like an asshole. So, of course, I'm going to wait for the written opinions, and I respect Mary enough to honor her wishes. The written opinion, I think, is going to be out Saturday. I don't think any of it's going to change my mind, and I still think I'm going to be unleashing quite a bit of fire. But I don't know. I don't know. I do know that D. Frank Robinson, because he has said this publicly, he wasn't my leak, by the way. No JC member was my leak. People that the JC members spoke to cover their asses were my sources, not any of the JC members themselves. I would have respected it more if they told me themselves. Apparently, they wanted to cover their political asses, but not enough to talk to the person they directly fucked over. Brave, brave Sir Robin. I should shut up now because I haven't read the opinions, and I may change my mind. I doubt it. But what else did I want to say? Oh, my goodness. Good news. Last show, I was telling you, like, what my November Patreon goal was and how I was behind. And boy, man, you'll see at the end, we have a new hero of the show. I put in a new top tier, which the benefits for that patron tier is a free t-shirt, everything. All the lower tiers get advertising on this YouTube channel if they so wish. Most of my top tier patrons do not take advantage of the ads. They should. If you are a $25 a month patron, I will advertise your show, your Liberty product, as long as it's not crap. Just let me know. The only two that have taken advantage of that are, and I'll advertise it once again, Tale of Two Brothers, Get It for the Young Person in Your Life, and the Daniel 3 Biblical Anarchy YouTube channel. Please go subscribe. I am a subscriber. I've been a guest on that show as well. But there's plenty of others who haven't taken advantage, and none of them have taken advantage of the free t-shirt. Please take advantage of the free t-shirt. But I instituted a new tier of $50 a month that gets all of that, plus an ad on my radio show that airs on 1360 KHNC in Weld County, Colorado, weekly. So that new hero of the show is Ryan S. Let's give Ryan, oh my God, Ryan, I couldn't believe it. Thank you. That new tier wasn't up for a day when I got a subscriber. So for the month of November now, I'm only $10 away from my monthly goal. So if you can subscribe to the show through Patreon, if you get value and you can afford it, not everyone can. I understand that. There's no poor shaming here, believe me. It's patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I would greatly appreciate it if you could get me so early in the month to my monthly goal. Also, got another thank you. Mr. Stefan Kinsella sent my family a smoked turkey for Thanksgiving, and it is delicious. We didn't know who it was at first. All of a sudden in the mail, we get a turkey. We get a politician in the mail. No, actually, we got something useful. We got a smoked turkey, not a politician, which would be utterly unuseful, even though they are turkeys. They're not the delicious kind. So thank you, Stefan. It is absolutely delicious, and I was so glad that you wrote me and asked me if I received it, because we were puzzled. And I'm like, Wayne, I think I'm going to have to go on my show and go, who sent me the turkey? And all the kinds of jokes that could elicit. So Stefan Kinsella, that was so thoughtful. Thank you so much. And it came right at the time of peak depression after finding out about the terrible JC decision. And I think that's it for the introductions. And you have a good night, Julian. What we are going to talk about tonight is Delaware. As always, this is an audience participation show. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your suggestions. I want to hear your bitches. I want to hear everything, basically. So what's going on? The same thing that has been going on, except the last I spoke to you, I was Libertarian Against Lynching says, if I may relay a critique, you always can. It's the exercise of not revealing sources that seems inconsistent with past disclosures. When people ask me to keep something confidential, I keep it confidential unless it involves fraud. I don't protect fraudsters. people who are blabbing their mouths, that's up for the Judicial Committee to investigate, not me. So I'm not going to reveal my sources. I appreciate that could seem a little inconsistent, but I have a lot of people who tell me things in confidence, and unless it's protecting fraud, I will keep confidences, though I ask people to consider letting me reveal it. But if people ask me to keep something in confidence, I do. Oh, Ned, the video's not... I'm sorry, it's lagging. Let me see. It looks like I'm on Wi-Fi. That could be why. Let me switch... Let me switch to... I'm now on Ethernet. Let me know if that has changed, everyone. I switched from Wi-Fi to Ethernet. So please let me know. I know there's a bit of a delay between the broadcast and my words. Yeah, participation. Yeah, if some think it's inconsistent, I don't think it's inconsistent not to reveal sources again, unless it's whatchamacallit, covering up fraud, which I will never do. Terenticia, let me know if that has been fixed, because I did just switch to Ethernet. It should be okay now. I'll do a speed test. I might restart it if this keeps happening for you all. Let me know if it's impossible to watch. I'll keep watching to see, because if there's some issue going on with my connection, we'll try to fix that. But I noticed I did have it on Wi-Fi, which isn't so great in my basement, and I switched it to Ethernet. I had it on Wi-Fi, I think, because I was transferring some files. So, Delaware. My complaint on Delaware the last time we spoke had been that the LNC is doing absolutely nothing about it. That is no longer the complaint. I will always give credit where credit is due. I don't like this LNC. I think that is been quite apparent on my end. But that doesn't mean that everything that they do is going to be wrong. It doesn't mean they can't do anything right. Broken clocks are right twice a day. We'll see. I hope that they do the right thing. So here is what has happened so far. Susan Hogarth, and we will read what she had to say, asked for a special meeting to discuss Delaware. My big complaint is you guys had a meeting already set the beginning of November, and you just couldn't think of anything to put on the agenda. You could have talked about Delaware at the beginning of November. But okay, better late than never. I'm glad you're talking about it now. But you're talking about it too late for members to do anything about it, or almost too late for members to do anything about it if they don't like what you do. Now, I'm not going to assume that is intentional. I don't think it's intentional. What I do think it isn't much better than intentional. I think it's incompetence, but at least incompetence isn't malicious. But you guys should have kept your November meeting and discussed it then, 2 weeks ago, when members would have had time to fix it. I'm going to give a suggestion at the end here that members can do if they don't like what you do. But that's all I'm going to have to say about that. I think it was utterly incompetent for you to cancel your November meeting. But there is a meeting now, November 21st. Did I say 2 weeks? 3 weeks. Now, it's between 2 and 3 weeks, because I think their November meeting would have been November 8th. So, yeah, I guess that is 2 weeks. Why they canceled it, I don't know. Delaware had been going on since the beginning of October. And further atrocities happened at the beginning of November. And they still canceled their meeting. But they have a meeting scheduled for November 21st. Great. The meeting notice is defective, by the way. Just so that you know, we'll go over that as well. Speaking of meeting notices, the executive committee had a meeting to discuss the preliminary budget. It's not the approved budget, but the preliminary budget is almost like the interim platform committee chair. I'm the interim platform committee chair. When it comes time for the platform committee to elect its chair, I have a distinct advantage being the interim chair. It doesn't mean I'm automatically going to be the permanent chair, but I have an advantage. The same thing happens with the preliminary budget approved by the executive committee. The main LNC will amend it, but the preliminary budget is pretty close what it's going to be. There's an advantage. And guess what? That meeting was never noticed to the public. I don't think it was even noticed to the rest of the LNC. I think Mr. Hagan screwed up and only posted the notice to the executive committee list. That's what kind of happens when you throw out your secretary midterm. But anyway, nobody got notice of that meeting, so none of us were able to go to that meeting and give public comment on what we thought budget priorities should be. Yes, the budget itself is not going to be approved till Massachusetts, but there isn't general public comment at Massachusetts unless you are there in person. Or how many of you are planning on traveling to Massachusetts just to give comment on the budget? How many of you can afford that? So yeah, while it is kind of a pro forma meeting, this executive committee meeting to approve the preliminary budget, it's still very important for general membership to be able to comment. And we've seen no oopsie, no apology, no, because listen, I don't expect Tim Hagan or whoever my replacement ends up being to be perfect, but I do expect a mea culpa on the LNC list going, you know what, I screwed up. I didn't post notice to that meeting. We've seen nothing. We've seen nothing. And you're going to mess up. It happens. It happens. But nothing. They just pretended like, oh, well, we had a meeting without notice. And it's that kind of arrogant attitude that's been my problem with this LNC. We're the peasants. That's my opinion. I realize that opinion may hurt some people's feelings, and those people will think I just violated the non-aggression principle. And anyone who thinks that I violated the non-aggression principle by hurting their feelings can fuck off. And I know that will hurt their feelings too, and then they can fuck off again. Because I am not going to sit still for the redefinition of the non-aggression principle. But please, Tim, apologize. You made a mistake. Big deal. But apologize that you didn't post the notice to that meeting, and let's try to be more cautious about that in the future. Thanks. Okay, so let's now talk about Delaware. Let's talk about Delaware. I'm going to have some good things and some bad things to say. I am going to try, but I'm going to acknowledge right up front, which I don't think I need to acknowledge. You all know that I'm very biased against this LNC. But each show that I talk about them, I am going to acknowledge my bias up front because it helps keep me aware of it as well, to try to put it aside. Because my bias isn't doing member education any good, and my purpose of going over these isn't to roast the LNC. If I ever want to roast the LNC, I'll do a show that's just called Let's Shit Talk the LNC or something. These types of shows aren't that. They're meant to be educational, motivational, and to teach you guys what your rights are and what you can do if you don't like what happens. So, right up front, please realize I have a bias, and it's going to be very difficult for me to overcome this bias. It will become easier as time goes on, but things are still very raw. Things are still very raw, so my bias is going to be very difficult for me to overcome. Okay? Okay, let me put up Libertarian Against Lynching's comment here, because I would love to talk about the budget as well. We might do that in a different stream, but while you have a comment up, let me put this up. Speaking of the proposed budget, without the increase in spending to adequately compensate staff, who would stoke division within the LNC and the party membership? I think that was a rhetorical question. Let's have a discussion about the proposed budget, though. I think I'll do a show on that. I didn't go over it with a fine-tooth comb, but I'm not unhappy with the budget. maybe you guys can alert me to something I should be unhappy about. Let me tell you some things I'm very happy about. They're hiring an assistant communications director. Our communications suck. Larissa has done a great job for as much as she can do. I think it's a great idea to hire assistant communications, and they're also hiring assistant operations. Robert Kraus is retiring. It's going to be very, very difficult to replace him. Yeah, and that Karen was late in completing minutes. I'm going to do a show once that tells you like exactly how many times I had ever been late in completing minutes and why, and how many times everyone else on the LNC has been late in submitting their reports. And I don't think they're going to like that show because nearly everybody has been late more than half of the time in submitting their reports, but not me. I was late in submitting my minutes after the first suspension motion that Richard pulled because I was in a severe depression. And fuck you, not you guys here, but anyone who doesn't have any sympathy for that. Yeah, I was late. I was late when I was having to get counseled for severe depression. I was. And there was no harm caused. I was late the year before when my brother died. And within a few months, my dog died. Now, I know some people might think it's pretty gross to compare a brother to your dog. I was much closer to my dog than I was my brother, but my brother was my blood. We weren't particularly close, but he was my blood. And the dog was the best dog I ever had. So, yeah, I was late a couple times. That happens. I have a life, you know, and then I had a job. I'm not perfect, and I'm not a robot. No harm, though. No harm was done. Nearly every regional representative is late in submitting their regional reports. And you want to know what? No harm done. It happens. We're volunteers. But yeah, I was late in completing some minutes. Yep, guilty as charged. Several times I was late. Not as late as some people have claimed, though, however. But yeah, and the funny thing is, though, our policy manual does not give a deadline for completing minutes. It does now. Want to know who wrote the deadline? Me. Back when people were claiming I was late, there was no deadline in the policy manual for completing minutes. So technically, I really wasn't late. I was late by my own standards, but I wasn't late per the policy manual. What the policy manual had was a procedure for auto approval. Auto approval wasn't a deadline. It was a deadline for auto approval. If you didn't do it by the auto approval date, the deadline was the next meeting. I had never been late under those standards. Never. So you can inform my little petty little army, critic army, who is more than welcome to come to my YouTube channel and confront me directly on that. The policy manual did not get amended to put an actual deadline for minutes in until I proposed that amendment about 6 months ago. But the deadline for submitting regional reports has been in there since I got on the LNC in 2016. And when I was regional, I don't think I was ever late. Nearly every single regional representative has been late. So has the chair. So has the vice chair. It happens. No harm. No harm at all. And not a removable offense, by the way, and not any cause to say that somebody sucks at their job or anything like that. It's just so petty. These bitches be petty, man. Didn't I have a clip that said these bitches be petty? Do I have that clip? I should have had that clip ready. Let me see here. Window. Oh my God. Forget it. I don't feel like fucking with it. Here we go. Ecamm. Window. Where's my sound effects? I don't think I have these bitches be petty. No. I don't. But let's just play this one.
Bitches.
Yeah. Bitches. Okay. Delaware. I'm going to pull up the LNC list, and we are going to talk about the call for the special meeting. We're going to talk about the summary that Susan Hogarth posted. Before I read her summary, I'm going to let you know I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good, but I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was adequate, but very milquetoast, and left out a lot of critical details. What was bad was Richard Longstreth's response. Like, I will give him the shittiest take ever reward for that response. And then once he started to get criticism on Facebook, now I can't prove this is why he revised his response. I suspect it's why he revised his response. But he did revise his response. But it makes me wonder, you either have the courage of your convictions or you don't. You either say what you mean and you stick with it until you get further information. You don't change it within a couple hours because people got critical on Facebook. Okay? My opinion. But we'll talk about Susan's response. I know, Gregory, you nailed it. You nailed it. Oh my God, Gregory beat me to the punch. You nailed part of what I'm going to say. This is pathetic. But let me put Gregory's comment, because you took the words out of my mouth. Congratulations for also noticing. I'm wondering how many other people noticed this. Here's what Gregory said, and I'll read it out loud. Why is everyone mentioning how this depends on factioning without mentioning which faction and who's from which faction? What are your thoughts on not naming factions? I will tell you my thoughts on them not naming factions in one word. Cowards. Chunowitz isn't a former LNC secretary, Libertarian Against Lynching. He is a former LNC treasurer. I know nothing about his tenure as treasurer, so I have no opinion. The only opinion I have on Mr. Chunowitz is that I live rent-free in his head, and he has the most wonderful speaking voice I have ever heard. Oh my God. Like, even if he was just criticizing me, I could listen to his voice for hours. I'm in love with his voice. He has the most wonderful speaking voice, definitely made for radio. And I'm not saying that like as a joke, like when people are ugly, they go, ooh, they have a voice made for radio. Oh, no, it's a face made for radio, right? He has the most wonderful speaking voice. But yeah, he's a dick on Facebook. But I know nothing about his tenure to know if he was a good treasurer or not. I know he's a big prag, and his objections against me are ideological, and he tries to pretend like they're performance-based, and they're not. And that's just thoroughly dishonest. Simple as that. I don't know the guy. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. I know people don't like whenever I use that expression, they think I'm trying to say that somebody's a criminal, because I once said that, like, before they made a big deal when I said that about when I didn't know the board of New Hampshire, but I knew Gilletta, and I said I couldn't have picked those other guys out of a lineup. That's just an expression I use to mean I don't know these people. I live rent-free in some people's head, and they could pass me on the street, and I wouldn't know them, but I would know his voice anywhere. Oh my God, his voice is so wonderful. I'm in love with his voice, if you haven't figured out. Okay, and I've told him that personally. So Susan, yes, Greg nailed it. She was cowardly in her summary. But there was a lot of very good things in her summary as well. So let's go over it. But Greg, boy, you nailed it. I am so proud of you. Because I'm reading this going, it seems like some critical information is missing from this, Ms. Hogarth. And this is another reason why, and I know I'm going to seem like a big fat hypocrite here, and I'll own it. I'm being a bit hypocritical here, because if I had been restored as secretary, I would not have resigned from the Mises Caucus. I joined when I wasn't secretary, but I would not have resigned if I got reinstated. But Susan's way she wrote her response is a big reason why I do not believe, and no, his comments couldn't have been more pathetic, Diana. Let me put it on the screen because we're going to get into this. She asked if Richard Longstreth's comments could have been any more pathetic. No, I don't think they could have been. Let me see here. Let me remove that. I don't know how to remove that. So, I forgot what I was getting at. Oh my God. Oh, I lost my train of thought. So let's just get to it. I'm sure I will. Oh, I was saying, Susan's response is one reason why I don't believe LNC members should be in caucuses. I think part of the reason Susan didn't name factions is because she's on the board of the Radical Caucus. The Radical Caucus right now, Tunowitz was an officer. He was a treasurer. The treasurer is an officer. Just answering Libertarian against lynching there. He just wasn't secretary. Susan is a director, I think she's state coordinator, North Carolina state coordinator for the Radical Caucus. The Radical Caucus is going through an internal battle right now where they can't decide if they're anti-Mises or not. And I think that's pretty sad because the Radical Caucus and the Mises Caucus should be natural allies. They do have some different focuses, but they are very similar in ideology, no matter what the leftists in the Radical Caucus think they are. And there's an internal battle going on right now, and I think that's why Susan didn't mention the factions, because she has a divided loyalty right now between her job as a regional representative and her role on the Radical Caucus. And that's why it's very difficult to be in a caucus and be on the LNC. Again, I realize my own potential hypocrisy here now, considering that I joined the Mises Caucus. But I told you right off from the beginning why I joined the Mises Caucus. Because right now, with the viciousness that is going on in this party, I tried to be neutral. And I still got politically assassinated, treated like I was a member of a caucus I wasn't even a member of. And I was like, if I'm going to take the fall for being a member of this caucus, I might as well just be a member of it since I agree with them. And in times like this, which is extraordinary times, you can't be a lone wolf. They'll kill you. They killed me. I needed allies. And even though they were my allies, they deserved to have me return the loyalty that they showed me. That's why I joined. Even though that generally is against what I believe an LNC member should be. And Gregory, I'll explain what I mean. I could see your confusion. Not all assassinations are political, though, but I'll get into that. And if I'm reelected in Reno, I am not quitting the Mises Caucus. I owe them a lot. They had my back in a way the Radical Caucus never had my back when I was a member. That was always a big complaint I had about the Radical Caucus, is that they would help people get elected to the LNC and then throw them to the fucking wolves and never had their back. The Mises Caucus had my back, and I'm a loyal person. I repay loyalty. Let me put up Gregory's comment here. I know you guys are eager for me to get to Delaware, but I'm a rambler. You all know that. Greg said, Gregory. I don't usually shorten people's name unless I have consent. I never understood the phrase politically assassinated. Aren't all assassinations by definition political? No, I think there's sometimes like assassinations between like mobs, right? Like the Gambino crime family and this. I don't think that's really political. That's like criminal. The reason I say politically assassinated is because I'm not trying to overstate my case. Like, they didn't literally kill me. What I mean by that is they tried to kill, or at least temporarily killed, my political trajectory. That's what I mean. Rather than literally like shot me and I'm dead. That's what I meant by that. I'm sorry if that wasn't entirely clear. Oh, Libertarian against lynching. Go talk to Mark Montoni. And no, Susan Hogarth is a radical in name only. She is the definition of a rhino. And so is Richard Longstreth, by the way. Libertarian against lynching. Dustin Nana, who's not a Radical Caucus member, is more of a radical than both of them put together. Was not aware of a schism within the LP Radical Caucus. There's been a leftist takeover of the Radical Caucus for a while now. Go talk to Mark Montoni. He'll tell you. And the thing is, leftists should be welcome in the Radical Caucus. So should rightists. And they should leave their left-right bullshit at the door and just be radicals. I've told you all right off, if I had to identify with one side or the other, I'm more left than I am right. I just don't think it belongs in the LP. Yeah, probably would libertarian against lynching because I don't want to get raped. But I don't associate with Mises just because they're the dominant gang. I associate with Mises because they're getting shit done. I do ideologically agree with them, and I think they're doing good things for the party. Not just because they're the dominant gang, though they are the dominant gang. But I think they're the dominant gang because they're doing things right. Like for all the kvetching on how we don't want to be a social club anymore, this caucus comes along and they're actually doing real work and everyone loses their shit. All the people who claimed before that they didn't want to just be a social club, the minute a caucus comes along and actually does real caucus shit, they all lose their minds. They all lose their minds. You wanted to be a real political party? Well, the Mises Caucus is a real political caucus, and you guys don't like it one bit. So I guess we all know who really wanted to be the social club. I guess we all know now, don't we? Okay, let's pull up. Let me pull it up first, and then I'll share my screen. Gotta stick on my glasses because I'm old. Let's pull up the emails from, I accidentally pulled up LPD, and I have to tell you, oh my God, it hurt my heart to see vacant next to LNC secretary, but it's true. Okay, let's see. LNC business. Okay, we're going to read Susan Hogarth's email here. Here we go. Let me go over here and read it. Colleagues. I don't know why, but that always just annoys me. I don't know. That just seems so pretentious to me. Colleagues. I don't know. That's just me. I just don't like it. That's just me being petty. I just don't like it. You'll never see me ever starting anything with colleagues. And she didn't really like start talking like this until after they decided muddecorum type bullshit. Oh, yeah, thank you, name unavailable. Please do not forget to thumb up my video because there are a couple of haters who always thumb it down before it even starts. Please, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. Subscriber count has kind of stagnated. I know it's a real niche what I do here, but I would love to see the subscriber count go up a bit. Though, of course, you know, I don't like live or die by those stats, but it would be nice. And also, as usual, particularly in these marathons that I do, because it gets tiring, super chats are always, always, always welcome and appreciated. Okay. You know what? I'm at this age now. I put my glasses on and it's too much. I take them off and I can't read. So I'm going to lean, let me put this, I'm going to lean forward here and kind of squint. Colleagues. Thanks. No, I still can't read this. I am so old. Let me. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Thanks for approving of the special meeting and thanks for being. God, I can't read this. I'm at that age. For being willing to listen and help with the problems of the Delaware affiliate. And let's see. I've started this note several times. I want to provide a ton of information about the situation, get suggestions for possible sources of action, and have us work together for the highest benefit of Delaware libertarians, the LPDE, and above all, the LP, on whose governing board we serve. That was a lot of words about nothing. But I will try to keep this initial communication simple. No, you should not keep this. It will make it kind of big for you guys, though, too, Gregory. That's why I'm not increasing the font, because I don't want it to run off of screen. I want you guys to be able to read it at the same time. Okay. She wants to keep this initial communication simple. No, she really shouldn't. Because it's not just for the LNC's benefit. It's for everyone's benefit. But okay, that's a style choice. You know, I wouldn't have done it that way, but I respect that that was her choice. But what this told me that really, really concerned me, I had assumed that while these atrocities were going on for the past 2 months, that the LNC was discussing this in detail on the secret list. I guess it wasn't. And I don't know what disturbs me more. Like, I was really disturbed there was conversation going on the secret list, but I think I'm even more disturbed that there wasn't now, because it meant they weren't talking about this, that the rest of the LNC just let this go. Now, I would be really pissed off that they're having secret conversations, but at least they were talking about it. This email lets me know the LNC as a whole, you know, there's exceptions for like a few of them, I'm sure, have no idea what is going on. This is the first they're really learning about any of the basic facts. That's appalling. That's absolutely appalling. But let's go on to these brief facts. My God. I could tell you the minute I found out what was going on with New Hampshire, and that wasn't even my region, because I wasn't a regional, an officer, but I let them all know immediately. Publicly, too. Bill Hines was elected chair at Delaware's convention in June of this year. He was the only candidate. The fact that he was the only candidate is absolutely irrelevant. That shouldn't have even have been mentioned, but okay. Particularly if you're trying to keep it brief, why did you include that? It seems to me that that was kind of like, I don't know. That just rubbed me the wrong way. But again, that could just be me. I could be being just a bit bitchy here. Through September and into October, Will McVeigh engineered and exploited changes to the state party governing rules that allowed him and a few others to meet in haste, throw out the chair, vice chair, and another board member, and seize control of the board. Okay, that's a decent summary, but they had been plotting this for longer than that, but that is a decent summary as far as it goes. She left out a lot of critical information in that sentence. We're going to read the whole thing before we go back and I tell you what's missing. You know what? Let me just read the whole thing and then I'll go back and comment because this is getting a bit disjointed. I'm sorry. Okay. These actions being, rightly in my opinion, seen as abusive and called out at the county affiliate level, that group, hold on, I'm going to have to make this font a little bigger. I'm sorry, guys. Let me do this. Okay, that helped. And now let me, oh, here we go. That you guys can still read this. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just old. Okay, here we go. You all still can read this, I assume. All right. These actions being rightly, in my opinion, seen as abusive and called out at the county affiliate level. That group has taken action against and disaffiliated counties in agreement. That's kind of, we'll go back. Sorry, I'm not going to comment yet. 41 delegates were at the state convention. More than half wish for some remedy to this series of abuses. There are, of course, many more facts and feelings involved here on all sides, and they will be presented. I am not unbiased in this. My biases are not at all factional. Yeah, they are. A little. Everyone's are. Sorry, didn't mean to comment. But they absolutely exist. I want to see the LPDE restored as a legitimate and thriving affiliate of the LP. But at this point, I have very little choice but to view the officer/board that claim to be our affiliate as rogue actors who have ousted the rightful chair VC by, at best, shameless abuse of flawed bylaws. That several are longtime dedicated party members is extremely disappointing. But it doesn't change the fact that they have acted against the best interests of the delegates and, I believe, of the party. Nor does the fact that these actors believe they are working to preserve the party against a perceived threat lessen their culpability for tearing their state affiliate apart. I'll provide documentation, but I do urge all of you to privately contact both Bill Hines, the elected chair, and Will McVeigh, the person currently claiming the title of chair. Will, as you might imagine from my tone here, does not feel that I can reply by his interests impartially with the board. So anyone who is inclined to be an advocate for his actions is especially encouraged to bring his version of events to the discussion. I don't come before you with a fixed idea of what we ought to do. But among the options are the LNC recognizing one faction over the other. Oh my God, that is such a shitty statement. I'm sorry. I just had to say it. Okay, I'll shut up. Or simply disaffiliation and letting the Delaware LP reorganize itself. The option of letting Delaware sort it out at their next state convention is a poor one, in my opinion, because McVeigh has taken steps to disenfranchise those who are opposed to his takeover. That's the briefest I could do. It's probably both too brief and too long. I hope the discussion can stay civil and be used to promote the interests of the LP, as is our primary charge. Thanks, Susan. Okay. Some of this was great. I'm going to say that right off the bat. Some of what she said was great. However, some of it was awful, and others was bad by what it omitted. So let's go through it. And then we're going to go through what Richard said. Okay. Okay, we already commented here. Okay. We already commented on this first thing of Bill being elected. She should have also mentioned that the vice chair was also elected at this convention, because she leads the impression here that the only election that took place was the chair. And now I know some states might go, some people from some states might go, well, obviously she meant everybody. No, that's not always the case. For instance, in Colorado, we have 2-year terms. So half of our board is elected 1 year and the other half's elected another year. So she doesn't make it obvious that Amy Lepore, who's the vice chair, that was ousted, was also elected at this convention. Okay. The thing where she omitted an awful lot is in the second paragraph. All of this is true, but there's more to it than that. And we have to read this paragraph, through September and into October paragraph, in conjunction with, let me find it, this sentence right here. The officers board that claim to be our affiliate as rogue actors who have ousted the rightful chair VC by, at best, shameless abuse of flawed bylaws. If that were the case, let's say that all the officers or board did was abuse flawed bylaws. The LNC can do nothing about it. All they could do is disaffiliate. Why? Because affiliates have every right to have shitty bylaws. The LNC cannot get involved in choosing winners and losers over battles over flawed bylaws. The fact that this is all Susan sees it as is a huge, huge problem. If you guys remember, in my very first video I did on Delaware, I had said that I had not yet talked to any of the actors nor read their documents. Excuse me. But that my gut feeling was that they had shitty bylaws and McVeigh took advantage of it and did it the right way, even though the results were terrible. And that's the fault of the affiliate for having terrible bylaws. If you remember, that was my gut reaction. And if that turned out to be the case, the LNC would be absolutely overstepping its authority to get involved. The fact that she sees it as that, yet is still suggesting the LNC get involved, is a huge problem. And that kind of explains Richard's statement. If Richard believes what Susan said here, and this is all the information he had, his statement really isn't as bad as it seems. The reason why I think Richard's statement is so bad may not be entirely fair to Richard, because I know more than he does. And hopefully he's watching this so that I can give him a way out of his shitty statement. Okay, so reading that sentence I highlighted with this, let's make this paragraph more complete, shall we? Through September and into October, Will McVeigh engineered and exploited changes to the state governing rules in an absolutely illegitimate way that he claims allowed him and a few others to meet in haste, throw out the chair, vice chair, another board member, and seize control of the board. However, even under the rules of their admittedly very poorly written bylaws, Will McVeigh did not even follow the rules of his own bylaws nor Robert's Rules of Order, which is the parliamentary authority designated by their bylaws. So even admitting the fact that their bylaws are terrible, the meeting that Will McVeigh engineered was done illegitimately. The bylaws changes were done illegitimately, and therefore Will McVeigh did not engineer or legitimately exploit any changes. Any claim that he has to be the rightful chair is completely illegitimate. Do you see how that changes everything? I want to make sure I'm really getting this point across as to where Susan utterly failed in this. Because the fact is, if Will, and even my parliamentarian had said, listen, well played. If he followed their own rules and engineered a legal coup, well played. Even if you don't like the results. And all the LNC can do, if a state party rightfully follows their own rules and engineers a coup, all the LNC can do is disaffiliate. That's the only option they have, is the nuclear option. So the fact that she does not recognize here, and I don't even think she realizes that what he didn't even follow their own rules. I did a whole show on how they fucked it up, but let me briefly state it here. The notice for the bylaws change was wrong. No random member can post a notice of bylaws change. Only people properly and publicly designated by the body that has the authority to make the bylaws changes can properly post a notice, not a random member, as has happened here. Second, the defective notice, if we ignore the fact that it was defective, didn't even say it was a notice of bylaw amendment. It said something to the effect of amend the bylaws? ? It was an invitation to discuss. It was not a notice of a change that would happen. Will McVeigh then buried the notice. The purpose of notice is to put people on notice. When it's not to just merely engage in the physical act of writing out a notice and then promptly hiding it, which he did. And the special meeting was not given proper multiple days notice. A special meeting, which this was, it was not the monthly meeting of the board, per their parliamentary authority, has to be given reasonable notice. And reasonable notice is defined in Robert's Rules of Order for special meetings of at least a couple of days. They were not given any couple of days of notice. So, that's just off the top of my head of how this meeting was illegitimate. So, Will McVeigh was never, ever, ever, even under their flawed bylaws, ever properly made chair. Okay. So, she never mentioned that. That is all she needed to say. Okay? We're gonna get more into it. But here's where I just don't know if Susan understands this. Then she says, these actions, being rightly, in my opinion, seen as abusive. Well, Susan, if under your scenario, will follow their own bylaws, who the fuck cares what your opinion is unless you are calling to disaffiliate them? Because it's not your business. You don't live in Delaware. Unless you are calling to disaffiliate them. The LNC can disaffiliate an affiliate who they think behaves so grievously that it offends the LNC's conscience. But just the fact that Ms. Hogarth sees it as abusive but legitimate has no bearing on this. Then she goes on to say 41 delegates were at the state convention. Who cares? It doesn't matter. They had a properly convened state convention. More than half wish for some remedy to this series of abuses. Who cares? Unless their bylaws provide for some kind of recall, even if every single one of them... Actually, Daniel, I am going to argue against disaffiliation strongly. And I hope by the end of my spiel you agree with me. But if you don't, that's okay. We can respectfully disagree. It doesn't matter how many wish for some remedy. Doesn't matter. It was a properly called convention. Even if everyone at that convention had buyer's remorse and like what Will did, their remedy is to just elect a new board at convention. There are, of course, many facts and feelings involved here on all sides. That's filler. That should go without saying. Who cares? I am not biased on all of this. Okay, that's great to admit that. My biases are not at all factional. I do not believe that for a second, because if they were not factional, you would mention that this is a continuation of what happened in New Hampshire, Susan. But you want to know why you can't mention that? Because you removed the person who exposed New Hampshire. It's coming to bite you in the ass. And if but for the fact that this harmed Delaware, I would be laughing. Because I am the person who would have had your back in this. Your biases are factional. Your biases are factional that you got rid of the LNC secretary. So you can't bring up the dirty two words of New Hampshire, because this is a continuation of what happened in New Hampshire. Let's get clear on the table. Will McVeigh did not like that there was a Mises board. A Mises board that wasn't quite as controlled as New Hampshire, but that caused a lot of deadlock on the Delaware board. It happens. This was an anti-Mises coup, just like New Hampshire was. Why isn't that mentioned at all? That is very, very, very important here. This is part of a larger pattern and practice that is repeating itself throughout the party. It's also going on in Massachusetts right now. There are also two factions in Colorado that are whispering in the ear of Chris Lucchini, making up lies about the Libertarian Party of Colorado board, trying to cause a case for disaffiliation here. Why are you not mentioning this, Ms. Hogarth? The fact that this is, again, a coordinated anti-Mises effort is relevant and important. I would be saying the same thing if this was an anti-Prague takeover. We do not allow this kind of bullshit. And that LNC members, because of what happened to me, are now too cowardly to say so. Liberty has it right, by the way, Daniel. She says, at this point, I have very little choice but to view the officers' board that claim to be our affiliate as rogue actor actors who have ousted the rightful chair VC at best by shameless abuse of flawed bylaws. If they followed their bylaws, then Will is the rightful chair. You're missing something here, Susan. Now, you may have said their bylaws are so bad that the LNC's conscience should be so offended by it that we need to disaffiliate. That would be something you could say, but you haven't said that. The fact that several are long-time dedicated party members is extremely disappointing. I agree with her. But it doesn't change the fact that they have acted against the best interests of the delegates and, I believe, the party. Okay, Susan, you have no business saying what's in the best interest of the delegates of Delaware. You do not live in Delaware. And Delaware has to act in its own best interest before the interest of the entire party. I agree with her here, but because my reasons are different, I can say that. She can't. These delegates chose not to amend these flawed bylaws. So why is she substituting her judgment for that of the delegates at the Delaware Convention? Nor does the fact that these actors believe that they are working to preserve the party against a perceived threat lessen their culpability for tearing their state affiliate apart. Why not? What threat, Susan? What threat? Are there no threats, Susan, that you think would justify this kind of action? There are some that perhaps could be. If they followed their own rules and Trump Republicans were trying to take over the Delaware party, I think that what they were doing would have been right if they followed their own rules, which they didn't. What perceived threat, Susan? Why are you not saying the quiet part out loud? Why are you further victimizing the victims and a caucus that is being openly persecuted here in Delaware by not naming their name? Why? Why are you scared to do so? It is relevant. It is relevant, just as it would be relevant if it was the Prague caucus. How would you feel, Susan, if this was the radical caucus this was happening to? And this perceived threat, that isn't Will's excuse. Will's excuse was the board kept having tied votes, so therefore we're allowed to throw out the rest of the board so that we wouldn't have tied votes anymore. He didn't even claim a perceived threat initially, though if you went and read their Facebook posts, then it became very obvious. But there's so much missing here. I will be attending this meeting and giving public comment, by the way. If I can. I might have another obligation to the Libertarian Party of Florida, but Stephen Nikala may end up postponing. I don't even want to get into it, but I might have a pre-existing obligation. If I can be there, I'll be there. And if others are, I would hope others would provide adequate public comment, because right now I'm damaged goods in the eyes of the LNC, and I don't want to harm the Libertarian Party of Delaware by commenting and having them punish Delaware because they don't like me. You know, I don't want to do that. And then he asks everyone to privately contact Bill Hines and Will McVeigh. I'm surprised that everyone on the LNC hasn't done that already. I have, and I'm not even on the LNC. How is it that I've done more investigation on this than apparently Susan does? And anyone else on the LNC? This is like serious. I don't come before you with a fixed idea of what we ought to do. You should. You should. I'm going to tell you what the LNC needs to do is very, very simple. Since that meeting was illegitimate, and since it is known, and it is desirous of, I'll get into this in a minute. And since it is since that was an illegitimate meeting, and it's known that these illegitimate officers have control of the website that is still on the National Party's website as the official affiliate, and that they are still representing themselves on Twitter, Facebook, and other public platforms as the official affiliate, all the LNC needs to do is provide to Bill Hines the letter, like JBH provided illegitimately to Gilletta Jarvis, saying who the legitimate affiliate was, because they were elected at convention, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more when we talk about Richard's comment, and let them take back their assets. That's all the LNC needs to do, and that's all they should do. That's it. They don't need to do anything else. That's it. To not come before them with a fixed idea of what we ought to do, that's insane to me. And to say that one of the options is disaffiliation, you disaffiliate an affiliate because a bunch of assholes came in, disregarded all of the rules, and declared themselves king. You punish the good people? Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because we're talking about an LNC and a lady here who denied me due process and said mean words violate the NAP. Perhaps I shouldn't be surprised, but are you fucking kidding me? This is incredible to me. I do agree with her of the option of letting Delaware sort it out. Delaware did sort it out at their last convention. At their next convention is a poor one because McVeigh has taken steps. She's absolutely correct there. Did I say EC? I don't think I said EC, but EC would mean Executive Committee. So I agree with her there. They can't, because McVeigh has taken steps to disenfranchise those who are opposed to his takeover. But if he's done it legitimately according to his bylaws, then your only choice is to disaffiliate. So now I want to get to, first I want to thank you, Josiah, for the super chat. It really encourages me. Thank you so very much. And thank you for encouraging me to keep up the good fight. Tyler asks, what does Robert say about tied votes? It means whatever they were voting on loses. Unless it's an appeal of the ruling of the chair, in which case the ruling of the chair is sustained. Oh, Cowboy. Oh, I see EC was mentioned by Cowboy. So Cowboy says, I've seen Pennsylvania EC members talking openly about instituting a code of conduct like MA to purge Mises members. That's exactly what's being going on right now, all because of the standard set by the LNC for getting rid of me. The waterfall effect is real. The waterfall effect is real. Sorry, Daniel, I thought you meant I said EC. So the reason why disaffiliation is the worst of all possible options is because there's nothing to disaffiliate over. There's nothing at all to disaffiliate over. You had a bunch of assholes come in, EC's executive committee, come in and claim to take over an organization without following the rules. Why would you punish the legitimately elected board by disaffiliating them for that? That's punishing the good. You don't do that. Disaffiliation would be an abuse by the LNC. It would be absolutely abusive. Now, let's put Delaware aside a second here. Why else am I opposed to disaffiliation? I am opposed to disaffiliation because I have it, because I see it happening in Colorado. I also have it from a source I'm not going to reveal, because it would keep that source from being able to prevent this from happening in other affiliates, because the source is one of the good guys. I have it on very good authority from an anonymous source that this is the new plan. New Hampshire, they tried exploiting a weak chair in order to take over a board that they didn't like. They, meaning the anti-Mises people, but I really do not give a fuck what y'all might think it's because it's Mises. It's not. I wouldn't care what caucus it is. I don't believe in what's happening, no matter who it was. They tried the plan of exploiting a weak chair. That didn't work. So now they're going to try to raise enough havoc in state parties to cause enough chaos to either have the LNC throw up its hands in exasperation and say, let that state sort it out, or disaffiliate. That is their next tactic. Do not let them get away with it. The first disaffiliation is very hard. But once the LNC gets a taste for disaffiliation, the next one is easier. And remember what the current national chair said. I don't want you guys to ever forget she said this. When the disaffiliation vote came up for New Hampshire, remember what she said. I can't think of a valid reason to vote yes for disaffiliation, but I can't bring myself to vote no. That is disgusting. Imagine if someone said that about her state of Texas. That is so gross. Now, keeping in mind that you have a national chair with that attitude, do you really want to start the disaffiliation train? I don't. Nobody should ever let Ms. Whitney Bilyeu forget that she said that. Now, let's read what Richard had to say. Rich Bowen is reasonable as ever. He wants them to give their sides at the meeting. Perfect. I don't really give a shit what Chris Lucchini has to say because he's tried to bribe people, not through money, but through favors, into giving him permission to vote yes to remove me. I did file a formal written complaint with the national chair on the alleged bribery. Again, it wasn't with money, it was with favors. Rich says he would be okay with written summaries in lieu of oral presentations. I ask respectfully Rich Bowen to reconsider that. I think you should have both. Written carries one sort of tone, but some people are better at oral, and with oral, that sounded dirty, and with oral, you can ask questions. So I would ask Rich to reconsider that. Now, Richard asks, has there been an ask of the board from both sides to act as a mediator or get involved? I am so shocked that he hasn't heard that the ousted chair and vice chair do want help. Like, where have you been, dude? Now, if you were a regional representative, I would almost excuse you because you need to pay attention to your own region. But you're an at-large. You're supposed to be representing Delaware just as much as Susan is. And check out what he said here. He basically has said he has purposely been derelict in his duty. I have purposely avoided learning anything about this. Sorry for ignoring some DMs, because I knew the situation was being monitored by Ms. Hogarth and she was reporting to the board. You are an at-large representative. You're supposed to be representing Delaware just like she is. How can any LMC member say they purposely avoided learning anything about this? Particularly an at-large. Oh my God. That is as bad as Laura Epke saying COVID responses to specific tyrannies happening in specific states weren't our lane. I know more will come at the meeting as well. I did not believe it was my lane. I didn't even know he said the my lane thing. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to have an aneurysm. I'm going to have an aneurysm. It's not your lane. You're an at-large representative of the party. Yeah, Liberty. That should be his campaign slogan. I have purposely avoided learning anything. Oh my God. But here he said something that seems initially really shitty, but considering what Susan said, it's not as shitty as it sounds. The purposely avoided learning anything is pretty bad. But this other one is bad, but it's not as bad as it might have been. My initial thought here, as it always is with state-specific issues, is that we as a national organization need to stay out of it. Generally, I agree with him. I've long held this stance and I will continue to do so. But here's where he screws the pooch. I believe mistakes were made related to New Hampshire. Mistakes were made. Let me correct this for you. I believe the LNC fucked up New Hampshire. Mistakes were made. Could you be any more passive, Richard? And we rushed in. We rushed in. No, the LNC chair engineered a coup, Richard. We didn't rush in, only to have the state affiliate work it out on their own. No, they didn't, you fucking liar. They didn't work it out on their own. Anyone from New Hampshire in here? Did you work it out on your own? Or did I help you? Do you think this would have been resolved but for what I did, New Hampshire leadership? I already know what you think because you've already told me. Fuck you, Richard. They didn't work it out on their own. And you all wonder what I whistle blew. Read this shit. The national focus brought internal conflict only because you guys threw out a whistleblower and exasperated viewpoints throughout the party. Because you guys threw out a whistleblower, despite the conflict being long resolved. It's not long resolved, Richard. It won't be long resolved until your ass is voted out of that seat. We all know historically it was wrong for the LNC to get involved in Oregon, but I doubt you know, Richard, why it was wrong. The only reason you know it was wrong is because I've told you so. I doubt you could relate the facts in Oregon if your life depended on it. And I can tell you why it was wrong to get involved in Oregon and how Oregon is completely different from Delaware. I explained it before, but let me explain it to you guys again in a nutshell. Oregon fucked up their bylaws, quorum requirements, so that it made it impossible for them to ever have quorum at a convention again. They attempted over and over and over again to have a convention. Two factions then had their own conventions, neither of which were done according to their own bylaws because it was impossible to do so according to their own bylaws. Both of them had dirty hands, but it was almost unavoidable because of their bylaws. This didn't happen right away. This took time, so that a lot of errors upon errors upon errors were compounded. Plus, there was a member of the LNC that was bankrolling the lawsuit of one of the factions against the other. So the LNC had dirty hands to the tune of $100,000. And the Republican Party was involved as well. Okay? Does that sound anything like Delaware to you? Where we just had a legitimate convention and less than a year later, one group of people not following the rules at all, even of their own bylaws, took it over? No, this is nothing like Oregon. In Oregon, you had two sets of people claiming to be legitimate officers, neither of whom had a completely clean claim. Completely different, Richard. Completely different. And yes, the LNC member allegedly was Aaron Starr. I say allegedly because I haven't seen the receipts myself, but that's what everyone tells me. And the RP operative was Richard Burke, who ended up being had the, one of the LP headquarters for Oregon was also the headquarters for the Trump campaign. He says, if anything ever happens in Illinois, let it be known. I misspell stuff a lot too, so I'm not going to get him on that. That most Illinoisans I know are of the opinion we would want to figure it out ourselves and not let National get involved. I doubt you have given them all of the facts because you don't know them, Richard. And in most cases, I would say the same thing about Colorado. But if what happened in Delaware happens in Colorado, you bet your damn sweet ass I want National to get involved. If both sides in Delaware, there aren't two sides, Richard. There aren't two sides. There's a legitimate board and there's a usurper. That's it. That is absolutely it. I beg this committee not to insert ourselves except we're invited. Oh my God. Talk about abusing the innocents. We are not a top-down organization. You don't have to do anything. Now let me explain this in a way that everyone should be able to understand. This has nothing to do with top-down. We as an organization recognize that the affiliates every so often, be it every year, every 2 years, whatever it might be, have elections. The LNC presumes that the results of those elections are the officers of the party. That's an automatic assumption. Who's elected at convention is who are the officers of that party. The burden of proof is on those claiming otherwise. The burden of proof is never on the officers elected at convention to prove they are the officers. The burden of proof is on Will McVeigh. And until Will McVeigh proves otherwise, the LNC doesn't have to do anything but recognize who they've been recognizing since the Delaware Convention. Has someone sucked your brains out, LNC? This isn't complicated. And then there's some just chit-chat that's perfectly reasonable. And then Richard backtracks. This was 4 hours ago. When was his first post? He was very strong in this first post here, by the way. 9 hours ago. So between 5 hours. What happened in that 5 hours? He started getting the piss taken out of him on Facebook. Thank you, Ms. Hogarth. I'm open to the idea of taking action. Really? You weren't open to the idea before. You were very aggressively against it before. In fact, you invoked all of these Illinoisans. An initial reaction where the discussion may take me are different things. And I'm glad you are open to another action. I wish you had said this initially, but I do hope you make the right move, Richard. As much as I would love to roast you for making a wrong move, my desire to roast you is secondary to my desire to see justice for Delaware. My desire to see this LNC fall on its face because they are incompetent is secondary to my desire for justice for Delaware. Now, I don't know this for certain, but he asks if Mr. Hines has been contacted for something in writing. Now, I need to ask Amy Lepore this, but I thought they already submitted something to the LNC in writing. Maybe they hadn't. Maybe they were waiting for the December meeting. But I do know they have written something because I proofread it for them and they asked for if there were any things that I thought that they got wrong. Oh, Richard is the king of flip-flop, isn't he? Remember at that meeting to restore New Hampshire's things? I'm going to vote yes on this motion. And then when the vote came down to him, he voted no with no new information. He's the king of the flip-flops, man. Okay. This concerns me. Yes, I have materials from Mr. Hines. I will submit them. You haven't submitted them before now? Susan! Oh, my God. And then here's a letter. Where is it? The letter's not published yet. When the letter gets published, I will read it. I'm also going to be writing out a much more polite version of what I shared with you guys tonight. And sending it to everyone on the LNC and also publishing it as an open letter. The 11 members of the LNC who are corrupt will not pay probably one whit of attention to what I say, except for Richard may use it as a way to save his own ass. But the rest of the LNC, I hope, will read it. I hope others that might be more persuasive to the LNC than I am right now, because I am damaged goods to the LNC, will take my talking points and hopefully talk some sense into them. But what this boils down to is the LNC only needs to say, what dispute? There were officers elected at the convention in June. If someone is claiming the officers have changed, the burden is on them to prove it. Show us proof, and we'll look at it. That's all they need to do. There didn't need to be this whole controversy. It's really quite simple. I've never seen a group make something so simple, so complicated. Now, I think that, let's see if there's anything else on the list. Who subscribed me to Trump fucking social media? I keep getting subscribed to all this let me unsubscribe to this fucking bullshit. I just got subscribed to Planned Parenthood too. Now everyone's going to do that to me again. I know that. And it makes you... Oh, this is Move On? Who subscribed me to Move On? That's even worse than Trump's social media. Is this some kind of... Oh, this is the political act. Who subscribed me to this? Fuckers. Now I know you all are just going to subscribe me to a million different things. RCV for Colorado. Hey, anyone who wants to get involved with RCV for Colorado, get with me, please. Oh, I want you guys to laugh about this. Okay, this is the more cowbell thing. Okay, so here is from our new chair of Douglas County. We have been approved for the Castle Rock Starlighting event, which is a great event we have here. So this was my response. Perfect. How many volunteers do we need? What kind of presentation do we want to have? How much cowbell? And here's the chair's response. Last year, we had 2 to 4 volunteers at any given time, which was sufficient. I know Wayne has his tent and supplies that we used the previous 2 years. I said, and cowbell? I'm sorry. What do you mean by cowbell? And then, of course, and I'm going to get totally copyright dinged for this, but let's watch it. Stopping this for 1 second, because this video might even get taken down because of this copyright stuff, but it definitely will be demonetized. So if you think I am the fucking goat for putting this clip in, you got to give me a super chat. That's all I've got to say. Because I'm definitely getting demonetized. Okay. Oh my God, I'm dying here. I am just, okay, I'll be back. I'll be back. Okay. I'm sorry. Diana said she never found that funny. I'm dying. I was just dying more that Sean didn't know. Oh my God. Okay, I got a fever. Definitely need some more cowbell. Oh. Oh my God. And you want to laugh? I watch a lot of these like music video reaction. It's a genre of YouTube that I don't know if you've really I'm trying to hold on right here. Your channel purchases. Where does it say like your history on YouTube where it says like things you've watched before? I'm going to try to find it. But there's this whole genre on YouTube of like people that are used to different genres of music listening for the first time to other ones. And a lot of times it's black folks listening to traditional white folk music type thing to try to expand their and some of their horizons. And I would love to see the opposite, like people who listen to like traditionally white music listening to some really good hip hop music. But this one guy that I watch a lot, and I think his name's Jamal. I think it's Jamal, a.k.a. Jamal. And he didn't know anything about this skit, by the way. And his channel is great, by the way. And I once posted on Facebook the reaction of this young black girl listening to Unchained Melody for the first time, and oh my God, the reaction that she had was just like so genuine. But Jamal, aka Jamal, was listening to Don't Fear the Reaper for the first time, and the first thing he said is, "Ooh, dig that cowbell." And I just laughed so hard. I want to put that up for 1 second. We're just having fun now. I like reaction videos, Diana. I was going to do some music reaction ones myself, but I want to go to the beginning of this. Here's this one guy, just because to get a laugh, and then we'll talk. Oh my God. Oh, you guys didn't see the video. Oh, well, you heard the sound. That's all that matters. He didn't know about the Saturday Night Live, but the first thing he noticed was the cowbell. One day I'll play for you that Unchained Melody one, man. That girl's reaction was so precious. And the comments were like, gave a timestamp, and they said, and this is exactly where the song made her pregnant. But okay, guys, is there, and thank you so much, Stephen, or is it Stefan? Please let me know. I hate mispronouncing names. For the super chat for cowbell. I need a pink cowbell. Okay, Amazon, Amazon, I will be in you the minute this video ends, because if there's a pink cowbell, that's now going to be part of this show. That's all I have to say. There can never be too much cowbell, and this cowbell will be dedicated to Sean Badney, the chair of the Libertarian Party of Douglas County, Colorado. Okay, everyone. Is there any other comments or discussions you guys would like to have about Delaware? Even if it's a disagreement, I would love to hear it. If there's... Oh, I know. There was something else that I needed to tell you guys. I'm glad we did the cowbell excursion. Now, let's say the LNC makes a terrible decision on the 21st. That's when the meeting is. Oh, and by the way, if I don't have a prior obligation, I might do like Justin O'Donnell did with the JC hearing. I might live stream it on my channel And we can have our own chat going on about what the LNC is doing, if you guys would be interested in that. I'm not... Okay, I had people panicking before. I want to let you know this is a joke. I had once said, just to scandalize the LNC, that I was going to start live streaming their meeting and I was going to do it on OnlyFans and only wear pasties. That was a joke, okay? Some people do not understand when I'm joking. I will not be doing topless LNC meetings on OnlyFans, just so you know. Okay? Do not freak out. I have a weird sense of humor. I try to make everything filthy. I make Robert's Rules of Order filthy with Mike Seebeck. So, but that's not really going to happen. And I don't know if public comment will be banned. Who knows with this LNC? Okay, so if the LNC makes a terrible decision on the 21st, I was on the Fritz cast earlier today. He's from Delaware, and I told him this. The Mises Caucus, since they're the ones directly affected, or people who are concerned, they need to start gathering Okay, Stephen. Okay, rhymes with even. Gotcha. Thank you. I always get concerned because Stefan Kinsella is Stefan. I do have pasties, Mike. You just don't know it. I haven't shown them to you yet. Be very afraid. Okay. Continuing with what I was saying. You guys in the Mises Caucus and those concerned about what's going on in Delaware, you need to start gathering signatures now from 10% of the registered delegates at the last national convention. I can get you the delegate list if you need it. It's also on, no, it's not on LPDA right now because there was a complaint about addresses being listed. I can get you a redacted copy of the delegate list if you need it. So you need to collect 10% proactively now, 10% signatures, so that if the LNC makes a terrible decision on the 21st, such as disaffiliation or anything else that could be, you know, possibly terrible, you can immediately file a judicial committee appeal the next day because time is running out. There's a 6-month window prior to a national convention that no action can be taken. And you do not want to have the legitimate, even though it's probably only 2 delegates, you do not want to have Delaware robbed of its legitimate delegates. So get your signatures now. Be ready, if they do the wrong thing on the 21st, to file a judicial committee appeal on the 22nd. Though I have to tell you, I don't have much faith in this judicial committee. It's the only recourse we have. I will sign it. I'm sure Wayne would too. There's plenty of people. I'll help you get signatures. So what I've said to the Mises Caucus, and I'll say to every other single person in this party, Mises Caucus or not, the LNC is far too big for its britches. The members need to start showing their power. And the power you have is the power to appeal any LNC decision. You might not know that. If you have 10% signatures from delegates appealing a decision, it goes to the JC. Any decision. Show your power. Put the LNC in its place. The tail has been wagging the dog for far too long. So, to me, that's the only recourse you guys have if they make the wrong decision. Now, there could be something else that I'm not thinking of. I'm open to suggestions, just like I said on the Fritz cast. But he asked me my opinion, and that's my opinion. So, follow my advice or not, that's my advice for whatever it's worth. And I wanted to show you guys I did my holiday nails. What do you think? It's this nice sparkly red. And it is a dip powder. It's got like a little ridge here, though, that I need to Now, the 6-month window wouldn't start December 28th, Mike, because the convention is May, January, February, March, April, May, the end of May. So the 6-month window would be November 28th, not December 28th, I believe. And I think that's the way Ken Molman calculated it as well. Oh, speaking of Ken Molman, I looked into that Virginia law. DC law applies to the LNC. So the LNC removing me was not illegal. I told you I would look into that. DC law applies, not Virginia. I didn't expect that to be something didn't seem right about, but somebody asked me to, well, Ken alerted me to it. And I looked into it, and there's no there. So yeah, very limited time to do something if the LNC fucks us up. Now, I hope the LNC doesn't fuck it up, I mean. If it weren't for Delaware getting screwed over, if they did, I would hope they fuck it up because I'm not a fan. But because I care more about Delaware than embarrassing the LNC, I hope they don't. So, as I said in another broadcast that you all might not have heard, in a way, it's probably better in the long run. And I'm not talking about re-election. I'm talking about for principle's sake, that there wasn't some weird loophole, and even that I lost the Judicial Committee decision. Because I have always said that I will stand on principle, even if it costs me dearly, which it has. If I got reinstated, it didn't cost me, did it? It cost me some emotional anguish for a few months, but I eventually got my position back, as it were. But at least now I can say, with truth and conviction, that I did the right thing, and it cost me, and I paid the price. Now, you have to take my word for it that I'd do it all over again, but I would. And if I were reinstated tomorrow, and I had to do the same exact thing for Delaware and get removed again, I would do it in a heartbeat. And not one of those corrupt fuckers on the LNC would. And I am confident that the next board, the next LNC in Reno will be completely different. And speaking of my speech, Tyler, interestingly, I'd been given a lot of thought as to who I want to do my nomination speeches. And you want to know what? I don't think I'm going to have anyone do my nomination speeches. I think I'm going to speak entirely for myself. I think I'm going to take the entire 5 minutes and speak entirely for myself. I haven't decided that yet, but I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, everyone, I'm going to be going. I thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for the super chats and all the support. And CJ, oh my God, you are such a warrior for my case. I can't tell you, Mike, you were on my list. I have a list of people that I was considering because you are a warrior for my cause as well, Mike. You already know how grateful I am. I mean, you've gotten my hugs and kisses of appreciation. And don't get any dirty ideas from everyone out of that. It was purely platonic. But I think at this point, I need to speak for myself. CJ, I am so grateful to you as well. It shows me that there are still people, we don't know each other, like, well, we know each other from Facebook. I didn't know the people in New Hampshire. It gives me hope for this world and this party, that there are people who will stand up for what's right, not because they know the people, but because it's what's right. And I am very, very hopeful for the next LNC. particularly if Angela McArdle wins chair. I'm completely behind the Angela McArdle train, and I think she will be a chair that I will be proud to support. So that's my thoughts for now. And this is no offense on Tony D'Orazio, who has also declared for chair. I love Tony. If we had picked Tony instead of Whitney Bilyeu, we would be in a much different place right now, and I told him that personally. So I hope anyone who's supporting Tony is not offended at all by what I'm saying, but I've been behind Angela ever since she declared. And CJ, as I've said, I don't care what the LNC or JC says. I am still the secretary of this party. Only the delegates can take that away from me. And I will continue to do the job of secretary to the best of my ability unofficially until the day of convention. There's a lot I can't do. But anything I can do, I'm doing. I'm still communicating with the state chairs as if I'm their secretary. And I said, if any of them are offended by it, just ask me. I'll remove you from my list. But so far, none of them have asked because I don't think they are confident that Tim knows what he's doing. And it's not because Tim's incompetent. It's nothing to do with that. It's he's been treasurer. This isn't a slam against Tim at all. But as far as I am concerned, I'm the LNC secretary in exile. And I will continue to call myself that. And I will laugh my ass off if they try to sue me to stop me. I'm going to continue to sign my emails that way. I'm going to continue to keep my public figure page up that way. I'm going to continue to identify myself that way because I do not recognize the decisions of a rogue LNC that had to cheat by smuggling in David Sexton in order to beat some nearly elderly pink-haired housewife from Colorado. Oh, you guys are just such badasses, aren't you? Anyway, that's it for this evening, I think. How long was this stream? It was only 3 hours. My streams are always so long. I'm going to go downstairs. And I will see you guys soon. I don't know what I'm going to stream on tomorrow. I have had some very interesting discussions with the new chair of the Radical Caucus who would like to come on my show and talk about immigration. And I think I'm going to have her on. But I'm also going to be asking her opinion about my suspension because, as you guys know, I think the Radical Caucus have been absolute cowards about this. But she is not. She's not the caucus itself. She can't unilaterally pass a resolution. It's not 2 hours. I started at 3. Oh, my clock is wrong. Sorry. I didn't change this clock. It's only 2 hours. It means I got an hour left to talk. See, look, this one still says 10. And it won't, I'm not going to change it all year. Maybe tomorrow we will do, finally, the right to ignore the state. I scheduled it once and then I was too depressed that night to do it. So maybe tomorrow we will do that. But good night, everyone. I've got to load up my new patron thing that has my new hero, Ryan S., who's my top tier patron. So let me load that up and we will get going. So let me hit choose file here. Where did I save that? Here, is this right? Okay, here we go. Good night, everyone. I love you.
gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.